So let's start our seminar. So we covered the Keynesian cross model, right? And money market and ISL model. We derived certain things and we discussed. I think that was clear for all of you. So now discussion number one. So now we are considering French economy, okay? And now data is, this graph is data given for the French real GDP, real income, okay? Which shows that almost 100 data, which is plotted in the graph, okay? Which is plotted in the graph. And now you can see, you know, how this economy fluctuated over the years, right? So now we are asked, and you are asked to give your guess. Now we have to guess, okay? What is going to be that steady income path in here? Steady state income path. And then potential income path. Now we have to graph it, okay? Draw that line. What was that steady state income? Level, growth. So we made argument that with the given capital and labor, okay? Given capital labor. And if that capital and labor is, used in the most efficient way, optimal way, then there will be some kind of, that growth, steady growth, if it's, optimal. Then it will give you the steady growth at optimal one, okay? Somehow. Because French economy experienced two shocks, right? World War I and World War II. So French army was active in World War I and World War II in both wars, okay? Especially in World War II, it was defeated by Germany, okay? So anyway, so if you are going to draw that steady state line, then you have to first of all know whether the economy itself is in normal situation or not. Okay. For example, before World War I, French Empire, okay, the economy was relatively stable. Capital was in its place and labor too. Okay. So you may expect that this business cycle, it was normal business cycle. Okay? And you may consider there was that steady state income level, somehow a straight line. But now this economy experienced these two shocks, then again, in order to recover to its that steady state income level, it took from France many years. Okay, somewhere here again economy started, fluctuating within its steady state income level. So which means that now we are asked to have the long run line, okay, which represents the steady state income. So which may look like this. So if there wasn't war, these two shocks, we assume that it's going to fluctuate the business cycle within this line. Okay? So this is steady state income line. Good. What about potential income? So this steady state income, if let's suppose there weren't these type of both type of shocks in the economy, where the business cycle fluctuates within this line, it can be considered as both steady state income and potential income. But now, when the French economy, the French army was in war, that in France capital was destroyed and labor was also destroyed. Okay, less labor because of killings, which means that at this point, there was less capital and less labor. Doesn't matter how efficient they are at that point. Okay, maximum efficiency. It's impossible to reach that level. Okay, it's impossible. Which means that this line is not anymore works with this one. Which means that here there is some other optimal line where this economy can produce. Okay? So there is somehow different one. When the economy was slowly recovering, then again there were the world crisis, right? The Great Depression. Then with World War II, again capital was destroyed and labor was destroyed. Okay? again. So again, from here you can see it's impossible to produce with zinc because less capital, less labor, and there was another potential line with this okay? So which you have to know. And also, this result shows that country with low capital grows faster. Fast grows. Good. So these are about steady state income and potential income. So now exercise 1. Exercise 1. So now we have given an economy characterized with the following factors, okay? Consumption. E. Propensity to consume times Y, where marginal propensity to consume is 75%, data is given. And now the assumption in here is tax is equal to 0, no tax. Investment is 500. Government expenditure is 250. Net export is 250. Now we have given this data. Number 1. Draw aggregate expenditure and actual expenditure lines. Identify demand-determined income in equilibrium in your graph, which means we are asked to find that Keynesian cross. Okay? Keynesian cross. So now, if you draw so this vertical line represents expenditure, right? And horizontal line represents income. So we know that there is 45-degree line, yes? 45-degree line. Which is called actual expenditure line. Okay, this is actual expenditure line, where income and expenditure is same, equal. Income and expenditure is same, actual expenditure. So now we have to draw aggregate expenditure line. Aggregate expenditure, the equation is aggregate expenditure is equal to consumption plus investment plus government expenditure plus net export. These three exogenous factors are already given, right? Already given. Where consumption is expressed as marginal propensity to consume times Y. Okay. So how do we plot it in the graph? That exogenous, we know investment is expenditure is 500. Then we have plus government expenditure, which is 250. And we have another net export. Net export, government expenditure, this investment, which is also 250. So which means that our aggregate expenditure line start from this point. Start from this point. And how do we draw that cross point? In order to draw that, the line aggregate expenditure, we have to find that equilibrium income. Can we find it? With this given data, we can easily find, right? So where this is in that equilibrium level, whatever the point is, okay? Expenditure is equal to income, which means that it is equal to income. So consumption plus Y plus I plus G plus net export. So now if you take Y on the side, which is equilibrium income, Y minus CY plus investment, equal. Investment plus government spending plus net export. Where our y is equal to, right, 1 minus c. If I divide both sides by 1 minus c, so this is now multiplier 1 minus c times investment plus government spending plus net export. Right? So now from here, everything is given. So our equilibrium income is equal to 1 over marginal propensity to consume is 0.75. Investment is given, which is 500 plus government spending 250. Net export is 250. So which is multiplied is now 4, right? Times 1,000, which is equal to 4,000. So which means, so this is 1,000, right? So okay, here is 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. So let me make it a bit smaller. So 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 is here, okay? 4,000. So this is equilibrium income, which tells us that actual expenditure and aggregate expenditure lines will cross at this point. Okay. So now, if we just add these 2 points, it's going to give us that aggregate expenditure line. Okay. Aggregate expenditure line. Equilibrium income. Okay, good. Next, what happens to equilibrium income if government expenditure increases by 500 units? So now you have to show your results in the graph and verify that it supports that multiplier effect. Okay. So now it's in the case of 1 we found. What about in the second one? Now we are considering where government expenditure initially was 250, right? Now government increased it by 500 units. Now government expenditure is 750, which means that change in government expenditure is 500 positive. Which means that here government expenditure was 250, there is additional plus 500, which means that now it's somewhere here, right? Starting point. It's going to shift, correct? So now in order to find this effect on equilibrium income, okay, equilibrium income, now we are going to take first difference from this equation. Okay, let me write it. So y is equal to 1 over 1 minus c, investment plus government spending plus net export. We will take first difference with respect to time, okay? First difference with respect to time. Then it's going to give us change in output is equal to 1 over minus c, 1 minus c multiplier, change in investment plus change in government spending plus change in net export. So what now government did here? Did it change investment? No, there is no change in investment. And there is no change in net export. But there is change in government spending, which is 500. Yes? Government now increased. And how this increase effect on income? So now you can easily find it, because now we have already that change in y is equal to 1 over 1 minus marginal propensity to consume is 75%. There is no change in investment or net export, so it's going to be multiply times 500. And if you find 4 times 500, which is going to give us 2,000. So 500 change positive, expansionary policy. Okay? In government spending increased or changed our output by increased by 2,000. So now government increased it by 500 and it resulted in increasing output by 2,000. 2,000. Change in line, okay? And change in government spending is now 500, which was added. So which means that at this point, which is 6,000, right? Equilibrium income. So now if you draw it like this, which is somewhere here, if you draw this line from this point to this point, you will get graphically represented, okay? So 5,500 units increase in government spending, and it resulted in 2,000 units increase in output. So does it have multiplier effect? Yes, it does. 4 times. Right? Only 500 units was injected into the economy, which resulted in 2,000 increase in output. Okay? 2,000 increase in output. Okay? Next. Using a graph show what happens if net export falls from 250 to 100. So now, just ignore the second case, we consider this economy, okay, first, initially. Now, in this one, we are arguing that what happened, now net export, which initially was 250, now it reduced to 100. Which means that change in net export is minus 150, right? Minus 150 because it reduced. So now you can write again this equation. So change in y is equal to 1 over 1 minus c. Change in investment, right? Oh, sorry. Change in investment plus change in government spending plus change in net export. According to this third question, there is no change in investment, right? And there is no change in government spending. But there is change in net export, which is negative, minus 150. So now you can easily find it. So if it's minus 50, which means that where it was 1,000 initial, right? All income itself here, expenditure and income. So you can see that it dropped from 1,000 to 850. So which means the starting point is somewhere here. And now you can find how does it affect on income. Change in y in income is equal to 1 over 1 minus 70% that marginal propensity to consume times minus 150, right? Which is equal to 4 times minus 150, which is equal to minus 600. Minus 600. So here again there is multiplier effect, okay? Only 150 reduction in our export level, right? It resulted in reducing our change in output 4 times more reduction. Okay? Minus 600. Okay? So which means that now the change, initially it was somewhere 4,000, but it reduced from 4,000 to 4,000 minus 600, 3,400, right? Now equilibrium point is somewhere here. Now you can draw this line like this. Next. So now, again, using the graph, show what happens if the marginal propensity to consume rises from 75% to 80%. 4. So now we are making our marginal propensity to consume. Marginal propensity to consume was 75%, but now if we are making it 80%, what happens? If marginal propensity to consume becomes 80%, and now which is higher than this one, then it means that multiplier effect is going to be larger. So our output function is this one. The output function, equilibrium. So now our output is equal to 1 over multiplier, investment plus government spending plus net export, right? Investment is equal to 500, right? Government spending is 250, and this one is 250. So y is equal to 1 over 1 minus, now it's 80%, 0%, 0.8 times. Investment 500 plus government spending 250 plus net export is 250. So which is equal to 5 multiplier times 1000. The initial point is still here, 1000. Okay, 1000. So now it's equal to 5000, which means equilibrium point is somewhere here 5 and 5000. So if you just plot it in the graph, then this is equilibrium point. Starting point is in this 1000, right? If you draw the straight line, you will get this straight line. What changed here? Now aggregate expenditure line became steeper, right? So the greater the marginal propensity to consume, the greater the steeper will be the curve of aggregate expenditure. Okay, the steeper. So this is regarding this one. Good. So now let's move to exercise 2. So now I'm erasing it. Okay. German reunification. So last week, when we discussed about the exchange rate policies, right? We discussed the case of EMS, European Monetary System, right? Where we made arguments about that German reunification, which led to some crisis in the Eurozone, yes? But now, when West and East Germany, when they reunified, one of the factors that they experienced, there was consumption increase in the economy because of the reunification. Okay? Consumption increased. And that consumption increased, okay, that increase in consumption led to increase for the demand for domestic goods and foreign goods, for both goods. Which means that some other countries, most probably European countries, they were exporting more to Germany because there is higher demand. So this is the case now. So which means here we are considering Netherlands and United Kingdom where they were exporting more in here, okay? The case. So look, the share of imports in Dutch GDP is 52%. 52% of GDP. And in British economy, the share of import is 27%. Now we are making this data assumption, assumption that this data represents marginal propensity to import. Marginal propensity to import. So where marginal propensity to import for Dutch economy, Netherlands, is 52%. In other words, regarding import itself, right, is marginal propensity to import times Y. Yes. So 52% of output is import. Okay, good. Next, and we have that marginal propensity to import for British economy, which is 27%. There is data given for the marginal propensity to consume for both economies at 80%. Marginal propensity to consume for Dutch economy is 80%. Marginal propensity to consume for British economy is also 80%. Tax rate in both countries is 30%. Tax rate for Dutch is 30%. For British economy is also 30%. Okay. So now we are considering. Now we have these factors. There is tax and import involved, right? Import involved. Calculate the equilibrium effect of exogenous increase of export demand by 100 units on Dutch and British GDPs. So let us write our output function. So now our output is equal to consumption plus investment plus government spending plus export minus import. I can write it like this, right? Then export. Okay? We have tax rate, which means that now our consumption depends on disposable income. Tax, disposable income. So our Y is equal to marginal propensity to consume from disposable income, tax. Yes? Plus government spending plus export. And what about our import? Import is equal to marginal propensity to import times output, yes? Minus marginal propensity to import times output. And here, tax rate, tax itself is equal to tax rate times output. Where you can write it now, output is equal to C output minus tax rate times output plus government spending plus export minus marginal propensity import times Y. So now we can write it as our Y is equal to C1 minus tax rate times Y plus G plus export minus import. So if I take all these outputs on the left side, our Y minus C1 minus tax Y plus marginal propensity import times Y is equal to government spending plus export. Oh, sorry, investment, we left investment. There is investment too, right? There is investment too here.
You can just add that.
Okay, let me just write it here. There is investment as well. So here, plus investment, right? So investment plus government spending plus export. So this is it. So here, if I take this y out, so now we have 1 minus c, 1 minus t plus my is equal to I plus g plus expert. And from here, our y output is equal to, this multiplier is now expressed with marginal propensity to consume and with tax rate and marginal propensity to import. And it's equal to investment plus government spending plus export. Oh, sorry, it's multiply. Multiplier times all of this. Okay. So, if you take first difference from this equation with respect to time, then you will get change in output is equal to multiplier 1 minus C, 1 minus tax rate plus marginal propensity to import times change in interest rate plus change in government spending plus change in export. Right? So which means that this equation is applicable for both economies. Right? For Dutch economy and British economy, for both. So now we can consider how does that 100 units increase change in Dutch and British export effect on the GDP. So number one, so now we are saying that change in import, so export, change in Dutch export is 100, right? Positive increase. And change in British export is also 100. If it changes by 100 units, now the income of these two countries is going to change. We can now easily find, because everything is now given for us. So now if you are going to find for Dutch GDP, the change in GDP, so change in Netherlands GDP, Dutch one, is equal to 1 over 1 minus marginal propensity to consume is 80%. Tax rate is in Netherlands is 30%, and marginal propensity to import is 52%. Times, there is no change in investment. There is no change in government spending, but there is change in export, which is 100. Which means that this multiplier times 100.
104.
So if you calculate it, it's equal to
104.
104.17.
Yes.
Okay? So now we need the 17 number because we have to do something else. I think that 17 is important today. So next, now you can apply these changes for British economy. So British GDP, change in British GDP is equal to 1 over 1 minus propensity to consume, 1 minus tax rate, 30%. But here now, marginal propensity to import is 27%, right? Time. Change in the export is also 100. If you calculate it,
140.
then you will get 140.85. 85. Okay? 85. So these are the change, which means there is multiplier effect. Why? In both countries, injection, right? Injection is 100, yes? Change in net export. But in the case of Dutch economy, it was only a little change. But in the case of British economy, there was much higher multiplier effect. Why? Because multiplier in British economy is larger because they're importing less. Okay? So this is the key. Alright? We are done with this one, and now second one. Employ the successive round interpretation of the multiplier. Okay? By how much has income increased after round 3 in total? If you just from YouTube, you can see very nice tutorial on that, marginal propensity to consume, okay? That gentleman nicely explains how the two persons economy, I don't know, was it farmer or fisher, whatever, one household, and the second household is that builder, okay? That farmer and builder. So he explains, let's suppose farmer, he found a treasure or whatever, okay, $1,000. He ended up having $1,000 in his hands. And for this economy, on average, the marginal propensity to consume is 50%. Okay? 50%. So now, farmer got $1,000 in his hands. And his consumption is 50%, which means that he is going to consume 50% of his income, yes? So which means he is going to consume 50% of his income. He is consuming. He is consuming because he is buying his service. What is consuming is consuming service, okay? Buying from his service. Which means that which is equal to 500 is going to become his income. Right? So this 500 is his income. Which means that because his propensity to consume is 50%, he is going to consume 50% of his income. Right? So now he is going to consume 50% of his income, which is equal to 250. And now he is buying his vegetables and fruits. Which means that this 250 became his income. And out of this income, he is going to consume half of it. So 0.5 times 250, which is 125, his income. So it will be circulating like this. The larger, it will be less, smaller, so it will get that return smaller. Okay? So therefore, when you graph it, in Keynesian cross, right, like this. So if it was somewhere here, if there was some injection in the economy, and it's going to shift, okay, 1,000. And this injection is received by household. Received by household. Where it means that 50% of it is consumed and it becomes income of another person. And this means that he is going to consume 50% from this one and becomes income of another person. So it gets smaller and smaller, infinite, okay? And it will be 0, 0, 0 point, blah, 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 all those numbers up to this point. So this is, because of this effect, first one, it increased by this much income. Because this person is consuming and it becomes income of others, and also increases this much. So therefore it will reach this much, this, and it will be that multiplying effect. Okay? Therefore it's larger effect. I think you understood this one.
Yes.
So here, what we are asked to do, to find this first round, second round, and third round, first, second, third round, for these two economies. So now let's find it first for Dutch economy, okay? First change. Oh, So it shifted like this, right? And it was first change, yes? First change. Now we have to find this first change. What was that first change? 100
and 4.
and it became income of all those experts, right? Which means the first change is 100, right? 100. First change is 100. Now we are considered marginal propensity to consume, which is 50% here, right? But what about in this case? Now it looks different, right?
80%.
If we consider for this economy, the multiplier looks 1 over 1 minus C, right? We are not considering tax or input. But now in our case, multiplier is 1 over 1 minus C, 1 minus tax, plus M, right? Is it correct? This one. Multiply. Which means that this one here, this factor, if I'm going to take it into bracket, and this plus will become minus, which represents us this C. Okay, this represents us this C. So in order to find, so this 100, right? So here we are kind of on 50, but now in considering second round, we have to multiply this 1000 or the 100 to this output of this one. So now, in order to find the second round is equal to, now we have to multiply that C, 1 minus tax, minus marginal propensity to import, times
100.
first change. This first change. So if you calculate it, so this is equal to marginal propensity to consume is 80%, and tax rate is 30%, import is 52% for Dutch economy, right? Times 100, which is equal to 4. Yes? 4. So now, this is 4. Okay? This is 4. And it became income of someone, okay? This 4. And now from that one, from 4 is consumed again this much. So in round 3, now again, if you find that 0.8, 1 minus tax rate, 30% minus propensity to import times 4, which is equal to 0.16. Okay? 0.16. So now we did it for Dutch economy. Now let's do it for British economy. British economy. What's the first change?
100.
100. Right? It became income of someone. Second change is now again this multiplied by change. 0.8, 1 minus tax rate everywhere is 30%. Marginal propensity to import is now less, 27%, times 100, and it's equal to 29. And third round is equal to 0.8 times 1 minus 0.3 tax rate minus 0.27 times 29, which is equal to 8.41. Question here is, by how much has income increased after round 3 in total?
104.16 or 17.
In total, just 3 rounds, yes? So now if you add up 100 plus 4 plus 0.16 is equal to 104.16, right? What is the total multiplier effect? 104.17, which means that just 3 rounds explain all of the multiplier effect, almost 99%. In that 3 rounds, it's already reached that level almost, okay? Regarding British economy, 100 plus 29 plus 8.41 is equal to
137.41.
137.41. Again, just 3 rounds explain more than 90% of that change. Okay? So which means that once that multiplier, once that injection is made to the economy, most of the change, all of the changes, okay, main changes in output will be experienced in early stages. First, second, third. Okay. Quickly. Good. This is it. This is it. So exercise 3. Now I'm erasing it. Okay, now again we have given an economy with those given statistics, okay, where consumption is equal to marginal propensity to consume times output, and our marginal propensity to consume is 75%. Tax now is equal to 0, which is going to change later, okay. Government spending is 250. Net export is 250. Now, investment is expressed in that simple function. Okay? Investment is equal to autonomous investment minus interest rate. High autonomous investment, high interest rate, lower investment. Right? So where we have further data given, autonomous investment is equal to 500. And B, this coefficient in here is equal to 5,000. Okay? 5,000. So this data is given. Last week, when we discussed exchange rate policies, and we have exercise regarding Brazilian case, right?
Yes.
Do you remember? Brazilian case. And there, in the second question, government decided to decrease interest rate by 1%, yes? Which resulted in 2% depreciation of currency, yes? And I said, sometimes government decides to depreciate or reduce interest rate because of certain reasons. So now, that type of reasons we will see. Why government does it, okay? Government decides to depreciate interest rate. So now, here.
Because it increased GDP here, but
Yes.
it's negatively related here.
Government does not blindly do it, right? So government, if see some changes are happening in the economy, then they try to do it. And one of those type of changes is this one. Here, assume that due to increasingly pessimistic expectations of investors, autonomous investment decreased from 500 to 300. So which means that now investors have some negative expectation about the income. If they expect it negatively, it means that now investing is not profitable in the future. So it's better to reduce it. So now, according to this one, it tells us that where our autonomous investment initially was 500, now, because of investors' pessimism, it reduced to 300, right? Which means that change in autonomous investment is minus 200, yes? Minus 200, okay. Then let's write that aggregate expenditure function for this economy. Tax is 0, we can ignore it, it's not disposable income, right? So now our y is equal to marginal propensity to consume times y plus investment expressed as this function, right? Autonomous investment minus interest rate plus government spending plus net export. So where our y is equal to, multiplier is 1 over 1 minus c, right? Times autonomous investment minus interest rate plus government spending plus net export. So now you take first difference with respect to time. If you take first difference, then it's going to give you change in output is equal to 1 over 1 minus c multiplier times change in autonomous investment plus coefficient times change in interest rate plus change in government spending plus change in net export. Okay.
Should there be minus or plus when
Net export?
interest rate?
Oh, it's minus, sorry, yes, you're right. It's minus. Yes, it's minus. Okay, good. Minus. Okay, good. So now we are saying that the interest rate and all other exogenous variables stay constant, not changing. Calculate the resulting change in income. How is it going to change if autonomous investment reduces from 400 to 300? Change in investment is minus 200, which means that now it is minus 200. There is no change in the other factors. So now you can easily find, so change in output due to investors' pessimism is 1 over 1 minus 0.75, right? Times minus 200, which is 4 times minus 200, which is equal to minus 800. Okay, good. So, let's suppose government, based on their survey, okay, they see, the experts, they understand that now investors on average, they reduce their investment autonomous to 300. They know that it's now minus. In government knows, because that multiplier, it's going to lead to reduce output by 800. So therefore government is going to take some preventive measures to make that effect less. And one of the measures that government can take at this point is to effect the investment
By interest rate.
they reduce interest rate, monetary policy. Okay, so to increase it again. So now, second one, at the same time the interest rate decreases from 6% to 5%. Government immediately reacted, okay, in the second. Where interest rate initially used to be 6%, right? Now, they reduced it to 5%, which means change in interest rate is minus 1%, right? It's a reduction. So now you can find it. So change in interest in output is equal to, so in the previous case, look, now once the economy experienced 200 reduction in investment, immediately government responded by monetary policy. So government also decreased interest rate by 1%. Change. Yes? Change. So where 1 over 1 minus 0.75 times change in autonomous investment is minus 200 minus B is equal to 5,000, that coefficient, right? Times change in interest rate is minus 1%. So it's equal to 4 times minus 150, it's equal to minus 600. Minus 600. So with the intervention of government, okay, with that monetary tool, now government was able to decrease the level of loss, okay, by 200. This 200 can be 200 millions or 200 billions of dollars. Okay? Good. Continue. So exercise 4. Okay. Now we are continuing exercise 3. Because now we are considering again that the economy which is considered in exercise 3, given with all of this data given, okay? All of this data given. But now we are assuming that the consumption now depends on disposable income. Alright? Consumption depends on disposable income. Now consumption depends, exercise 4.
Is tax still 0?
So tax is not 0 now, okay? Consumption now, it depends on disposable income.
Not be 0.
So look, the government increases expenditure from 250 to 750. So look, in the previous case, once because of the pessimism, the expected loss is going to be 800, right? Government did implement monetary policy, which it made it, the loss was, less to 200 units, yes? But now government is going to apply expansionary fiscal policy. All right, fiscal policy. So therefore, government increased expenditure from 250, which was 250 initially, to 750, which government expenditure, which was 250 initially. So now government is implementing expansionary fiscal policy by increasing it, right, to 750. So which means change in government expenditure now is 500. Yes, 500. Okay. Look, this additional expenditure is financed partly by taxes. So now, tax is implemented, okay? Which account for 50% of government revenue.
So it's 50% of 500?
Yes. Which means that 50% of this change comes from tax. Right? From tax. Which is equal to 250. 250. And initially it was 0, which is going to represent us change in tax is 250. So what about the remaining 250? Where does it come from?
Issuing bonds.
So it comes from by issuing bonds. Government is issuing bonds, okay? Look. This sudden appearance of huge quantities of government bonds on the capital market drives up interest rate from 5% to 6%, right? Because now there is less money in the market, in people's hands. So now it's driven up, which means because of this issuing bonds, what it costs, now interest rate here, the government reduces from 5% to, from 6% to 5%, right?
Yeah.
So now, which was 5%, because of that effect, it became 6%, right? So which means that change in interest rate is now 1% positive. Okay, good. So now let's write that aggregate expenditure function. So y is equal to now consumption depends on disposable income minus tax plus investment Oh, so now investment depends on autonomous investment minus interest rate plus government spending plus net export. Where if you open this bracket and take this y on this side, y minus consumption times y is equal to minus c times tax, yes? Plus autonomous investment minus b times interest rate plus government spending plus net export. So where now y is equal to multiply 1 over 1 minus c times minus c tax plus autonomous investment plus, sorry, it's not plus, it's minus, yes, minus interest rate plus government spending plus net export. So now if we take first difference with respect to time, it's going to give us change in output is equal to 1 over 1 minus c times minus c times change in tax rate, plus change in autonomous investment minus b times change in interest rate plus change in government spending plus change in net export. Now we can see what is change in, so now government increased spending by 500 units, yes? And it resulted in change in tax, which is 250. And it also resulted in change in interest rate, which is 0.01. Yeah? So now you can find that change, how does it affect? When I change in output is equal to 1 over 1 minus 0.75 times. Now marginal propensity to consume is 75% times. Change in tax is 250 minus B is 5,000, right? It's given for us. Times 0.01 plus 500. 500. So if you calculate it, okay, it's equal to 1,050. Alright? So by that expansionary policy now government can easily compensate this loss, this 600, with additional 450 growth, additional growth in output, okay? Good? So now it was the first question. What is the effect of all these changes on equilibrium income? So the change is positive. Next question. Would it have been better to finance the expenditure entirely by taxes? Which argues in here that government, so it was 1, yes? So government is now going to increase government spending, right, by $500, so 500 units, and it's going to finance these 500 units only by taxes. So which is that tax is also 500. So in this case now, what is government planning to do is change in government tax is government spending is 500 and change in tax is 500. Yes? While there is no change in interest rate, they are not going to issue bonds, which is not going to affect. Only tax. It comes from tax. So if you calculate it, then you will get it's equal to change in output is equal to 1 over 1 minus 0.75 times minus 0.75 times change in tax is 500 plus 500 government expenditure increase. If you calculate it, it's equal to 500. Multiplier. Injection to the economy was 500. Outcome is also 500. Okay? There is no change. like balance. So which means that question, would it be better to finance it only by tax? No. It's better to finance partially by tax and partially by issuing bonds. Okay? This is done. Alright, now we are done with exercise 4. Exercise 5. Also not exercise, the empirical exercise 1. Okay? Look. How does consumption change in relation with transitory and permanent income rise? This one we discussed during the lecture. I explained you this graph. Yes? So which means that even though there is one-time increase in people's income, sharp increase, it's going to affect on their lifetime consumption to be a bit higher. If permanent income increases, okay, then it means that their consumption will be high for all years. That's much. Here it's only one-time increase. I explained this example during the lecture why it happens. So, in order to prove this theory, so Michael Darby, generated some data for permanent income and transitory income, and he regressed it. Okay. So now, consumption, permanent income, and transitory income. So now you can see that permanent income, $1 increase in permanent income increases consumption expenditure by 93 cents. It's indeed, it says yes, they are consuming more. $1 increase in transitory income increases consumption expenditure by 57 cents. Okay? So the magnitude effect is less here. Here, transitory effect, you don't have to consider it's only one time only. It can be for a few months. Okay? Good. So this is it. And there is another empirical exercise, the pizza and pasta consumption in Italy. Okay? In Italy. So the data was given for consumption and disposable income in Italy. Okay? So now data starts from 1960 to 1991. That consumption data and disposable data is given. So now we are going to regress that consumption over disposable income. Higher disposable income, we are going to expect higher consumption of pizza and pasta, right? Okay. So now after running those regressions, so where the model itself, consumption is equal to autonomous consumption plus disposable income. Okay. So it was the output. Indeed, if that income increases by $1, it's measured by $1 billion or whatever. By $1, the consumption for pizza and pasta is increasing by 71 cents. Here another thing is now you can see that this coefficient, autonomous consumption, is highly significant but negative. Which is not true. Yeah? It doesn't have to be negative. It must be positive. Because consumption is always positive. There is no negative consumption. Okay? So why is it so? The explanation is it's because it considers only pizza and pasta consumption. People from their disposable income do not consume only pasta and pizza. There are vegetables, fruits, cars, house, whatever, which is all included in here. Okay? Good. So now in exercise 5, the most favorable part of all of you, we will be deriving now. Derivations. So now we are going to derive that LM curve function. Okay? Because we will need it. LM curve function. What does that LM curve represent? All equilibrium points, yes, in money market, where labor demand is equal to money supply. These points represent that one. Where labor demand is also, it just depends on income, yes, high income, more demand for money, and it depends on interest rate. High interest rate, less demand for money, because people would like to keep their money in saving accounts, which is going to generate interest. Yes? Higher interest rate, so there is less demand for money. Regarding money supply, it is supplied by central bank, which is fixed. Yes? Money supply is somehow fixed. So in LM points, LM, this curve, this money supply and money demand is equal, which means that it is equal to this one. So KY minus HI, interest rate, is equal to money supply. So this is equilibrium point, LM point. Right? So from here, if you, let me write it. Doesn't make a difference, okay? Let me write it like this. So our money supply is equal to money demand, HI. So if I take, interest rate on the left side and money demand on the right side, so now HI is equal to output minus money supply. If I divide both sides by H, it's going to give us that LM curve, right? K over H times output minus 1 over H times money supply. So this is LM curve function. LM curve function, X. Derive the IS curve function for economy for an economy that trades with other nations, open economy. Okay. And now use simple consumption and investment functions. Where simple consumption function is, so this is number 1, number 2. Simple consumption is equal to marginal propensity to consume times Y. This is a simple one. Extended one is consumption depends on our income and plus our expected income. That one is extended. We are not considering that one. An investment function, simple one is it depends on autonomous investment and it depends on interest rate. What was the extended form of investment? Investment depends on expected output and interest rate. That one we covered during the lecture. Okay? So now we have to consider this one. Because this economy is open economy, where there is export and import, right? Now we have to write that what our export is. Export depends on world output. If our neighboring countries become richer, they will become buying more from us because they have a lot of money. So therefore our export will increase. Plus. And it also depends on real exchange rate, determined in a foreign exchange rate market. Higher R, it means that depreciation of our currency, in this case, okay? If our currency depreciates, it means that for foreigners, buying from Uzbekistan is going to be cheaper. So we will be exporting more. Import. It depends on M1 of our income. High income we have, we will be importing more from foreign countries. Okay? Minus M2 real exchange rate again. if our currency is weak, then we will be less able to purchase foreign goods. So therefore it's negative, okay? So these are considered. So now we can write our output function. Okay. That our goods market, Y is equal to consumption plus investment plus government spending plus export plus, minus import where our consumption itself is equal to marginal propensity to consume times Y. Our investment function is autonomous investment minus B times interest rate. Government spending is given as it is. And real exchange rate. Import depends on our output and real exchange rate. Okay? Good. So if it's the case, now if I take this Y and then the interest rate on this side, which is BI is equal to, and I'm taking this Y on this side, minus Y plus CY, and we have another Y here, right? Minus M1Y plus, we have two expressions with real exchange rate, X2 real exchange rate plus M2 real exchange rate plus autonomous investment plus government expenditure plus world output. Okay? Good. Or we can write it as BI is equal to minus 1 minus C plus M1 times Y. Yes? This one. Plus X2 plus M2 times real exchange rate plus autonomous investment, government spending plus world output. Okay? So now if I divide both sides by B, then it's going to give us IS curve function. Okay? So now if you divide it by I, then you will get, so now IS curve function is equal to minus 1 minus C plus M over B times Y plus X2 plus M2 over B times real exchange rate plus autonomous investment plus government spending plus world output over B. So this is IS curve function. IS curve function. Next. Derive global economy IS curve. Now this is open economy, right? Now when we say global economy, we are making an assumption that global, the world is one country. One country. There is no export, no import. Okay? In global economy, so now it's 3, there is net export, export, or import is all equal to 0. There is no, which means that this factor in global economy, export, import is all equal to 0. Deriving an IS curve for global economy is much simpler, okay? Because it's 0. So where you can write again in here, said Y is equal to consumption, which is expressed like this one, plus investment, which is expressed with function minus BI plus government spending. Export and import is equal to 0. So from here, that BI is equal to minus Y plus CY plus autonomous investment plus government expenditure. And now from here, if you find that your interest rate is going to be equal to, if you take this Y outside of the bracket, so then minus 1 minus C over B times Y plus autonomous investment plus government expenditure over B. So this is IS curve for global economy. Okay, global economy. Next one. Using first derivation and third derivation, derive the equilibrium income. Equilibrium income, which is asking us to find that point where equilibrium income is, that LM curve and IS curve crosses, yes? IS curve and LM curve, which means that it is going to cross in that equilibrium income and equilibrium interest rate. In this point, in equilibrium income, interest rate for IS and LM curve is same. So which means that if this LM curve function is equal to IS curve function. So now we can write it as, LM curve function, I think it's 4, right? Which is expressed as K over H Y minus 1 over H minus supply is equal to minus 1 minus C over B times Y plus I hat plus G over B. If I multiply both sides of this equation by B, okay, to make it simpler, then it's going to give us BK over H times Y minus B over H times minus supply is equal to minus 1 minus C times Y plus autonomous investment plus government spending. Because B's will be cancelled out, okay? We are interested to find this equilibrium income. So where, if I take this factor on the left side and this factor on the right side, then it's going to give us BKHY plus 1 minus CY is equal to B over H times minus supply plus autonomous investment plus government expenditure. Where our Y times BK over H plus 1 minus C equal B over H times minus supply plus autonomous investment plus government spending. So our equilibrium income is equal to 1 over BKH plus 1 minus marginal propensity to consume times B over H times minus supply plus autonomous investment plus government spending. So this is equilibrium income for global economy. Okay? Good. Next. Using first derivation and fourth derivation, find equilibrium interest rate. Which means that now once we found this one, we can find this one too. So now let's use that LM curve function. We have to find this one because we already found this Y. If we plug what we found in here, we will find our equilibrium interest rate. Okay? So our interest rate is equal to K over H times Y we already found 1 over BK over H times plus 1 minus C times BH minus supply plus I hat plus G minus this factor 1 over H times money supply. So now I'm going to multiply this multiplier to this one first, okay? I'll multiply this one to this, and then I will multiply to this one. First I will multiply to this, then to this one. So then it's going to give us, now I'm on BK, right? Numerators. Our interest rate is equal to BK over H times BK. This H will be cancelled out, which is going to give us BK, yes. H multiplied to 1 minus C times H, this H. And now we have another in denominator, this H times H, right? Times money supply. So this is now, it's going to give us this part. Plus, what about this one? And the remaining is K over this one, BK plus 1 minus C times H times autonomous investment plus government spending minus 1 over A times money supply. Money supply, these two. Okay, now we are considering these two factors. So if you consider these two factors, then it's going to give us our interest rate is equal to, so BK over BK plus 1 minus C times H times H, this, minus 1 over H money supply. Can I do it like this? I can do, right? Plus this factor. Plus this factor, right? Okay, so now if you further simplify it, what will you get? With what is going to be, what will you get? Now, if you multiply to, so now denominator here the H, which means that this H, so this should be multiplied to this numerator, right? Which is going to give us, where is, do we have a space to write it? Okay, so anyway, let me write it, this one in here. Here, so BK, right? Minus BK minus 1 minus C times H, right? Over BK plus 1 minus C times H times MF, yes? This one. And plus, again, this factor to this one. Which means that these two BKs will be cancelled out. This H will be cancelled out with this H, yes? What you have left is, if you write all of those, then you have interest rate in equilibrium point is equal to minus 1 minus C over BK plus 1 minus C times H times money supply plus this factor that we were not writing. K over BK plus 1 minus C times H times autonomous investment plus government spending. So this is equilibrium, interest rate in equilibrium point. So again, so in this here, I solved it in here, where and it's all of this plus this one, what is derived plus this one, and now we got this one, all right? Okay, so now we are done with this one, and the last slide, which is not going to take your time. How do the following changes of exogenous variables shift LM and IS curves? Number one, So this is LM curve function which we derive, and this is IS curve function for open economy, right? An increase in money supply. If money supply increases, how does it affect on LM curve? Money supply is increasing. How does it affect? LM curve is going to shift to the right, downward, yes? Okay. What if government expenditure is decreasing? If government expenditure decreases, IS curve is shifting to the left, downward, yes? Okay. What if foreign income decreases? You know that our neighboring countries became poorer. They will be buying less from us. IS curve again shift to the down to the left. Why? Because now they're exporting less, yes? An increase in the foreign price level. All other countries' prices are now more expensive, their goods are more expensive compared to our goods. So now, IS curve shifts to the right upward because now we're exporting more, right?